Confirm. This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine. With over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. And Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the Record.
For the Record. For the Record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you.
For the Record.
Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the Record.
For the Record. For the Record.
Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. Today is Wednesday, the 13th day of March, 2019. Yes, it is Wednesday the 13th, not Friday the 13th. So do not be alarmed. Have no fear. Just go about doing your regular activities without any thought as to what date it is, unless you're signing a letter and you have to date it, or you're writing a check and you have to date it. And, of course, you can't post date. You don't want to post date the check either. It's just Wednesday the 13th, so have no fear. I trust that everyone had an enjoyable evening. Those of you who are on the roads, we urge you again to please observe the rules of the road. Drive carefully. If you're a pedestrian, walk cautiously. If you're a bike rider, ride cautiously and observe the rules of the road as well. And always remember that in whatever form you may be traversing the roads of the Cayman Islands, that the life you save may simply be your own. I want to thank you, our listening and viewing audience, for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. Our phone lines are always open. There's always someone there waiting to take your calls. Normally, it is that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flo. That toll-free number is 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. If you don't like to talk on the telephone, email us at For the Record. That is one word, For the Record, at CANDW.KY. WhatsApp us on 925-3261, where we encourage you to send us a text message or leave us a voice note, the contents of which will be played during the course of the show. And, of course, you can follow us simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. We're due to have MLA Mr. Kenneth Bryan in the studio with us this morning. I want to caution you also that Mr. Bryan will only be able to stay until about 8:30, and he has another commitment. So if you have any questions, any observations to share with Mr. Bryan, we want you to take advantage of that opportunity between the time that he arrives in the studio and 8:30 when he will be leaving. I had a WhatsApp message that was received on, was it Monday or Friday? Yes, on Friday. And it had to do with the conversation with the conditions, conditions in the district of Bordentown, or some parts of the district of Bordentown, that one caller suggested needed to be remedied. And one of our listeners wrote and said, "Good morning. Maybe you could encourage the caller to get together a group of people who could go to the clinic and start a cleanup. There are a lot of things that we can do for ourselves. Get their MLAs involved in the cleanup. Put up signs about keeping the place clean, etc. Sometimes it is so easy to say that somebody needs to do something. Let's continue the do something movement that Pastor Al Ebanks talked about years ago." And I want to thank that listener and the writer for those comments as well. And if I recall, I believe that was a big cleanup in the Bordentown area, especially Bordentown Central, but that may have came about before the elections. And of course, you know, when during election time, people want to put on a good face, put on a good show. So you see a lot of things happening in the districts then, and then after that, the activities start to wane slightly during that, after that period as well. So again, the writer's suggestion is that people should get together, maybe include their MLAs, get involved, and start the do something movement again. Something that was talked about years ago by Pastor Al Ebanks. Want to extend condolences to the family of Ms. Rosedine Jackson, who you heard earlier in the announcement. She passed away only on the Monday before the agriculture show on Ash Wednesday. In reading one of the articles from the Tradewinds newspaper about the agriculture show in 1966, I believe it was, and I did mention that Miss Rosedine Jackson had been the recipient of several prizes at that agriculture show as well. And of course, she was also a writer, the correspondent for the District of Savannah in the Tradewinds newspaper as well. You also would have heard me mention that Mr. Willow Wood was a correspondent for Bordentown in the Tradewinds newspaper as well. Okay, one of our other listeners has written in and said, "Good morning. This is not a big item, but I'd like to know who is responsible for ensuring that the air pumps at gas stations are working properly. Many of them are leaking or don't work properly, and the pressure gauges on the majority of them don't work. Are gas stations required to provide them as part of their license? If so, they should keep them in good working condition." I'm not an authority on this, but I would venture a guess, and this would just be my view. I believe that the provision of air pumps, or the ability for persons to get air for their tires at the gas station, is an amenity that is provided by the gas stations. I am not sure that their license requires it. And sorry, I must say also that some of those gas stations go through a lot of issues, have a lot of headaches with this, because many times the users of those facilities are not as careful as they should be, and they often get destroyed. So it is not unusual to go to a service station, a gas station, and to find that they're not operational at all. I know in other jurisdictions, for instance, in the United States, many of the facilities now you actually have to pay. You actually have to pay some sort of a coin system that is used for you to get air and maybe water as well. So I would imagine that if you're a service station owner and you want to have an additional amenity for your customers, that you would provide it and you would ensure that there is a regular, constant supply of that product, that meaning that the facilities are in working order, and you would want to ensure that your staff monitor them to ensure that as well. Speaking of coins and having to use coins in some gas stations in the United States, only yesterday I learned that there are some banking institutions in the Cayman Islands. You know, when you get the coins and you roll them, let's say quarters, and you roll them into $25 or $10 or whatever it is, rolls, and you take it to the bank. If you take a $10 roll of coins to the bank now, let's say quarters or 10 cents or whatever, they are giving you 7. When I say they, I should say some banks. I'm not sure whether or not it's all, but some of them are giving you $7.50 for a roll of $10 coins. Now, that's something to think about. You give them a roll of coins for $10, they're giving you $7.50. I am told that the reason for that is that in many instances there are either fake coins or coins from the currency of other jurisdictions that are mixed into them. So the banks are trying to cut their losses by simply charging you $2.50 when you turn in a $10 roll of coins. So you can understand that, yes, they're trying to cover their losses, but at the same time, what happens if there are no counterfeit coins? There are no coins from Jamaican coins, because I am made to understand that the preponderance of coins other than Cayman Islands coins are Jamaican coins. What happens when there is genuinely $10 of genuine Cayman Islands coins? The bank is taking you for $2.50. So I'm made to understand that there are some retail facilities are in the Cayman Islands that utilize coins that need them, and they're actually getting them from individuals. People can go there and have them restored, exchange the coins for paper money or for services or whatever, and not have to pay that. So here again is another instance where financial institutions, in particular banks in the Cayman Islands, are, quote unquote, ripping people off, taking a benefit from them. So in addition to the fact that when you go to cash a check, some places are charging $1, some places are charging $5 or whatever. Now, if you go to turn coins in, some financial institutions, $2.50 taken from a $10 roll of coins. With that, we will take a commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly. If any of you have any comments in relation to that or have any experience, please let me know.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, sponsored by Cayman National Bank. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
When the storm of 32 struck Cayman Brac, records show it did so with 200-mile-per-hour winds, with waves washing atop of the 140-foot bluff. Although shielded from the major winds at first, once the eye of the storm had passed and the winds turned, the island was hit from the north, where nearly all of the houses were situated. When the storm passed, all of the houses were destroyed, all provisions lost, and 108 losses of life accounted for in Cayman Brac alone, not to mention the trauma that the survivors had to endure, including post-traumatic stress, gastrointestinal cases, polluted water, and insufficient food. But out of chaos grew a sense of harmony as people forgot their differences and worked together to overcome the disaster. Although having been hit hard, Grand Cayman sent materials and manpower without pay, and the sister islanders selflessly cooperated to rebuild their islands. Radio Cayman's Historical Facts Vignettes are proudly brought to you by Cayman National, with branches on all 3 Cayman Islands. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
540 months.
16,425 days.
394,200 hours.
45 years.
That's how long we've been committed to serving you, and we won't stop there. Over the years, we have proudly grown with Cayman, making a difference in the community. That's why we're here to stand by you.
We are Cayman National.
And we thank you for standing by us for 45 years and counting.
It is amazing to see my daughter grow up and make a difference in the world, but it is also completely terrifying to worry about her when she goes out with her friends. It is my job as a father to make sure she makes smart decisions and is safe as a young woman. So, when my daughter needs quality care, I take her to CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy.
CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy understands the importance of the careful decisions you make every day for your family. Our staff work towards healthcare excellence and providing the most current and up-to-date training with pharmaceutical care, so you can feel confident in knowing that your family is safe with the right medication. At CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy, we take care of your health.
I'm Deputy Governor Franz Manderson, inviting you to register for the DG's 5K Challenge Grand Cayman on Sunday, 29th of April. I'm challenging you to take part. Register now at caymanactive.com/DG5K.
It's March Madness on all SUVs at BAM Motors, with SUVs starting as low as $20,500 and savings up to $6,000. Find the SUV that fits your budget and island living style. Choose between the roomy 4Runner, the bold Fortuner, the 7-seater Rush, or that Motors' #1 selling SUV, the RAV4, all from Toyota. Or choose the compact EcoSport from Ford. Save now on the best SUV deal ever from that Motors, with savings up to $6,000 and SUVs starting at $20,500. Drive home the deal of the year during Vant Motors March SUV sale. Vant Motors, Walkers Road.
This Easter weekend, the Cayman Islands will welcome the rest of the Caribbean, and you do not want to miss it. Carifta 2019 takes place at the Truman Bodden Sports Complex from April 20th to 22nd. Watch the region's most talented track and field athletes compete and come cheer on your Cayman athletes. Get ready to raise your flags at the Caribbean's biggest athletic event this Easter weekend. It's Carifta 2019. Tickets start as low as $10. On sale now at caymancarifta2019.ky. See you at the games.
Carifta 2019, brought to you in partnership with the Cayman Islands Government and CUC. Sponsored by the Cayman Islands Athletic Association, DART, Maples Group, Pinnacle Media, and Radio Cayman.
It's all about unity.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning, and welcome back to For the Record. We have one caller, but before I go to that caller, I just want to introduce my guest. I told you earlier that Mr. Kenneth Bryan would be here. He is in the studio. Unfortunately, he has other commitments this morning, so he will only be able to stay here until about 8:30. Mr. Bryan, good morning, sir. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OC. It's a pleasure to be here. And in the interest of time, I just want to say I hope everybody woke up this morning with in a good mood and that we can dive into some conversations and get some good quick points. But I know you have a caller, so I'll allow you to go straight to that caller.
Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Connor.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Okay. Well, from what you were just speaking concerning the banks, I think the politicians need to get more serious with these banks and the rules that they're making, because they're becoming legal thieves. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that caller, and that caller has expressed his opinion. Before I throw the mic back over to Mr. Bryan, I just want to point out that in mentioning the fact that in some jurisdictions like the United States, a lot of gas stations, you actually have to pay for the service when you want to get air or maybe even sometimes water for your vehicle, that I wasn't suggesting that such a system should be introduced into the Cayman Islands, because some of the things that make us so unique and so attractive is the fact that there are still people, there are still businesses and organizations that are not only interested in the profit margin, but also interested in ensuring that their customers are satisfied and that their customers are given the level of service that they expect. So for some, it's all about managing expectations, and I don't think that you will ever see, and I don't think that the public would allow it to occur, where some of these things that are being done will be allowed to continue. For instance, the provision of free air for you, for your vehicles. But at the same time, because it is a free service that is being given to you, some operators of those stations are not necessarily that quick to repair those hoses or those pressure valves or whatever it is that you use to get air. They're not so quick, and some are discouraged from doing it because they have to do it so often because people are not careful. They may take the hoses and throw them down. Another vehicle drives up and drives over it or something like that as well. So we have to see this from both perspectives. Mr. Bryan.
I totally agree. Everything is a cost in business, and any person who thinks about the element of using it, just imagine yourself in the owner's position, offering up something that is not mandatory. At least I'm not aware of it being mandatory, for free for a customer. And if it costs your bottom line more money, what's the sense of doing it? So just put yourself in their shoes. But ears and tires are a safety concern for the roads too. So I would like to actually know the answer to that, whether it is mandatory or not. But maybe there can be new technologies that make sure that they continue to work, because we are in a new day, in a new age, where things can be more efficient. We still do a lot of the old holes where the holes don't recline back and those kinds of things. So, but interesting point. But we always have to look at both sides, like you said. OC, I don't have much time on this morning, unfortunately. I just got a call now. I'm having to leave at the break, so I apologize for that.
Not a problem.
But I want to remind the listening audience that I'm having a a public meeting for contractors, electricians, architects, anybody who has with the building codes that have recently been done over the last 2 years, or year and a half rather. I'm having a public meeting on the 19th of this month at the Georgetown Town Hall, and I'm asking all contractors to come out to that. Even if you're a new home owner or planning to build a new home, it's interesting for you to understand the effects of these new building codes on you as a purchaser, because what I have been made to understand that is these new codes that they've been implemented has increased the cost of building a home for Caymanians. And we have enough interest or increase in cost across the island to the point now where we have to worry about the cost of our homes. And we're not talking about, just a few $100s here and there. We're talking about in the thousands. Almost the average that I'm getting from most contractors that I've spoken to is from increase from about 10% to 25% more on what your house would normally cost as a result of these codes. And we're talking about the average home being about $200,000. $20,000 more is a lot of money, and if it's 25% more, you're talking about $50,000. And the question is whether some of these codes that are costing the effect financially on the contractor as well as the homeowner who's going to be buying the home, whether they're rational in comparison to our environment. And I know that the planning department has been doing everything in their best power to make sure that rationale with our environmental concerns as well. When I say environmental concerns, what I mean is the codes in respect to the Cayman Islands, because some codes are not necessary for Cayman, but these are international codes. Like, say, for instance, codes that has relations to snow. We don't have snow in the Cayman Islands, so those codes are eliminated from our code system, even though we're using international codes. But the question is, when you're talking about tens of thousands of codes, have they all been filtered out properly to the appropriateness of safety for our environment? And these codes that have now increase the cost of doing business in respect to building homes for Caymanians. Did we need them? Can we find other solutions that keep the safety element? And that's the main reason why you bring codes in the first place, is to make sure that everybody's safe.
And have they sought feedback from those persons who are on the front line using these products and to see whether or not what they're proposing makes sense, rational, is actually necessary?
Well, I've had the opportunity to speak with the Director of Planning, Haroon Pandui, and he has said that is an ongoing process from the very start of the implementation of the codes. And they've even had some chances where some changes have already been made as a result of complaints. Okay. But unfortunately, when you implement something, you don't feel the effects until after it's already implemented. And ultimately, what I would like to see happen is the contractors come together and those persons affected by it to come and highlight these points and see if the planning director can find solutions to them without jeopardizing the safety element. And he's going to be there at the meeting. So that's March the 19th at the Georgetown Town Hall at 6 p.m.
That's a Tuesday.
That's a Tuesday at 6 p.m. And I expect everybody to come. This is the time if you want to voice your concerns. The planning director will be there. I've also asked East End MLA, Mr. Honorable Arden McLean, to come along, a person who knows this a lot more than I do from a political perspective, to assist in how to find these solutions if something awkward comes up from a political perspective, because I am of the view that the contractors need a voice. It sounds like they're not getting a strong enough one, as well as the homeowners need a voice, because if the cost is increasing so much, we need to rectify that. So please come on out March the 19th. That's a Tuesday at the Georgetown Town Hall at 6 p.m. Electricians, plumbers, contractors, architects, anybody, engineers, AC technicians, anybody who has to deal with the codes in building in the Cayman Islands, I expect to hear from you and see you there. Time for you to vent those concerns that you have about the codes on that day, March 19th, 6 p.m., Georgetown Town Hall.
Okay, Mr. Bryan, thank you very much for that. We've reached the top of the hour, so, quick show this morning, but at least, you were here. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll continue after the 8 o'clock news, and we will have an open line from about 8:10, 8:12, straight until 10 o'clock this morning. So please stay tuned. If you want to call in, you will have lots of time to talk.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time now by Price Right is 8 o'clock.
Price Right is Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore, making your dollar go further with huge savings and no membership fees. Get more of the things you use every day at the right price. But it's not just grocery and health and beauty. Price Right has a full range of products from office to automotive, patio furnishings to kitchen appliances, and even electronics. And since warehouse prices mean savings for you, everything is priced right at Price Right, Grand Cayman's warehouse shopping superstore.
Access information. Your community. News and information. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. Tuesday night, the University College of the Cayman Islands marked the inauguration of new president Dr. Stacey McAfee.
Dr. McAfee, do you pledge to do everything within your power to ensure that UCCI is a student-centered institution suitably resourced to deliver cutting-edge holistic education and training, thus enabling it to be an engine for economic development, innovation, and social change?
I do. Tuesday's event was all part of Inauguration Week, which also includes an open campus tomorrow starting at 10 a.m. Log on to the University College of the Cayman Islands' Facebook page for more information. Brush up your marketing skills tonight with a free expert-led workshop at the National Gallery.
Marketing Mixology is a workshop presented by Caitlin Elphinstone, who is the marketing manager at CEC and a visual artist.
Jessica Ebanks with the National Gallery tells Radio Cayman the session is designed to help artists navigate the, quote, fast-changing marketing landscape with topics like brand values, digital marketing, and public relations.
With practical examples, ideas, and approaches, the presentation will give artists the tools they need to brand, market, and promote their creative art practice.
The free event is tonight from 6 to 7:30 p.m. in the Dart Auditorium at the National Gallery. For more information, call 945-8111. In other news,
I haven't seen her in a long time. Must be, let's see. It was the summer my father died, and I was 36 at the time.
8 years,
and I'm
Charlie.
44 now.
8 years,
so that's,
Charlie.
Let's see, 44.
That would be 8 years, Charlie.
8 years! Yeah. Holy mackerel!
A story about love, a story about family, a story about mortality and getting older. The Cayman Drama Society presents On Golden Pond, opening tomorrow night at the Prospect Playhouse. Director Malcolm Ella says he was instantly drawn to the screenplay.
What's important, I think, is that it's very identifiable to people. These are real-life situations. These are relationship issues that a lot of people can relate to. The comedy is hilarious. You will be moved. And ultimately, it's a heartwarming story.
The show stars Peter and Marianne Cosa with an ensemble cast. It opens tomorrow and runs through March 30th. For ticket information, head to cds.ky. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, who will take us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Been briefing her cabinet after her Brexit plan suffered another heavy defeat in Parliament. Later today, MPs are expected to rule out a no-deal Brexit at the end of the month. Nevertheless, the government has outlined some measures it would take in the event of Britain leaving without an agreement. They include new import tariffs on some EU goods and reductions on duties on items from outside the bloc. The EU's chief Brexit negotiator has meanwhile warned that the risk of Britain leaving without a deal has never been higher. He said the agreement British MPs had rejected was and would remain the only available treaty. About 10 women's rights activists have gone on trial in Saudi Arabia. They include Lujen al-Hathlul, Iman al-Nafjan and Hatun al-Fasi, all of whom were involved in the campaign for Saudi women to have the right to drive. The specific charges are not clear. Australia's High Court has ruled that Aboriginal people stripped of land rights in the country's Northern Territory should be compensated for losses, including spiritual harm. US-backed Syrian Democratic Forces say they're pressing on with a ferocious air and ground assault on the final parcel of land held by the Islamic State group. The Kurdish-dominated group says it believes only a small number of jihadist fighters remain in Baghouz. Georgia's security service has detained 2 people carrying 40 grams of uranium. The men are accused of belonging to a criminal group who were planning to sell the radioactive material. A South Korean pop star says he secretly filmed himself having sex and shared the footage. Jung Jun-young's admission comes amid a developing scandal in South Korea's music industry. He said he would cooperate with the police investigation and leave the industry. That's the latest BBC News.
Access. What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
CUC advises customers on Watercourse Road in West Bay that they will experience interruptions to their electrical service on Thursday, March 14th between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. Areas affected include all customers on Watercourse Road between the junction of Hell Road and the junction of Northwest Point Road, including Cockspur Way, Topaz Lane, Calamel Drive, Worthing Drive, Hastings Crescent, Poinciana Lane, Ficus Close, Adelia Close, Wildwoods Lane, Evelyn Lane, Eureka Drive, Hamlet Lane, Glidden Lane, Ebanks Road, Floridel, and Lindy's Walk. Motorists are asked to drive with caution when utilizing this section of Watercourse Road, as CUC will have a number of vehicles and personnel in the area and will be required to temporarily block one lane on several sections of Watercourse Road. CUC apologizes for this interruption, which is necessary to facilitate required overhead infrastructure upgrades to provide our customers with safe, reliable, and efficient power. For more information on the outage and streets affected, please contact CUC's customer service team at 949-5200 or email service@cuc.ky.
Have you ever dreamed about seeing snow or enjoying a family vacation in the majestic Rocky Mountains? Now you can with non-stop flights from Grand Cayman to Denver aboard Cayman Airways. Denver airfares are now on sale from just $380 CI round trip, including taxes and fees. Book by March 18th. Enjoy Wild Wild West and gold mining tours, catch a sporting game or festival, discover Denver's unique railroad history, and more. Call Cayman Airways reservations on 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Pleasant good morning. Time now for the latest weather report. Current temperature is 78 degrees. Relative humidity is 88%. Barometric pressure 29.98 inches and rising. The wind is out of the east-northeast at 9 knots. Overnight low temperature was 73. Synopsis indicate light to moderate easterly winds and seas will continue across the Cayman area for the next 24 hours, associated with a weak pressure gradient across the northwest Caribbean. Radar images show isolated showers around the Cayman area, which are moving towards the southwest. Now the forecast for the Cayman Islands for today, calling for mainly fair skies with a 20% chance of showers, and temperatures will be in the mid to upper 80s. Your winds will be east to northeast at 10 to 15 knots with higher gusts, and seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. Forecast for tonight calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of overnight showers and temperatures falling to the mid-70s. Your winds will be east to northeast 10 to 15 knots. Seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. We're presently at a high tide, and the next low tide will be this afternoon at 1:58. High tide again tonight at 7:38. Sunset 6:33, sunrise 6:35, and the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions through Thursday morning. Busy traffic coming from the east on Shamrock Road and also on the Linford Pearson Highway. Delays expected this morning and lots of patience. Coming off of Bobby Thompson Way, steady but fluent traffic. Traffic in front of the Georgetown Post Post Office on Edward Street is moderate, as well as on Shedden Road. On the West Bay Road, traffic flowing moderately in both directions, especially in front of the Ritz. A little steady traffic on Halter Avenue. Thomas Russell Way, things moving pretty good. And steady traffic in both directions on North Sound Road, especially coming from the Butterfield roundabout, heading towards the Industrial Park area. Traffic from the West Bay four-way stop is light to moderate. And as we look to what's happening on Cool Road, traffic is steady in some sections, busy in other sections of Cool Road. That's what's happening on your roads. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12. We'll update you traffic-wise. Remember 10-2 on the steering wheel and buckle up.
Brother, sister, mother, father, aunt, uncle, nephew, niece, friend, colleague, husband.
You and everyone you love can join the fight against diabetes. March 16th at 6 a.m. Join the management and staff of Soul Cayman and Esso service stations on a 5K walk or run to benefit the Cayman Islands Diabetes Association. Registration forms available at any Esso station. T-shirt collection from Barcam service station only. Early bird $10. General registration is $15. Follow Soul Cayman on Facebook for more details.
The Esso brand is a trademark of ExxonMobil Corporation and is used under license.
Hello, I'm Joseph Woods, the Acting Port Director. Our port facility is the hub of the Cayman Islands commerce and economic activity, handling $658 million in imported goods annually. From groceries to construction materials, all sectors of our economy depend on the port. But it is now 40 years old. Its infrastructure is degrading, and we feel the strain from insufficient space for both cargo and cruise operations. The time is now. A new expanded port facility is needed to allow both cargo and cruise to operate efficiently and to support our island's continued growth and development. Support the port, support our tourism, support Cayman's continued growth and development.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have no guests in the studio now. Mr. Kenneth Bryan had to leave for another commitment, so we're going to have open line all morning. If you want to talk, I'll remind you of our toll-free number. Provide courtesy of Flow, 1-800-534-8255. You can call us also on the landlines 949-8037, 949-6990. Email us at fortherecord@candw.ky, which some of you have already done. WhatsApp us on 9253261. And if you just want to follow us, then subscribe to Radio Cayman live stream, and you can follow us on YouTube as well. Speaking of coins, one of our listeners has written and said, I took $275 in change, all of which I rolled to Butterfield, and I'm calling the name because, it's important, to Butterfield, and had to pay them $28 to put the money into my account. All of the monies that she was putting into coins was in CI. And the person points out that they have multiple accounts with Bank of Butterfield, but yet they charge that fee. Something to think about, something to contemplate. Another writer has said, the banks continue to exploit us and nothing is being done about it. The person says that my children save all of their quarters during the year, and then we cash them in, which they use as spending money on our annual summer vacation. If banks are going to charge for changing coins to cash, they should at least work for it and have a teller recount or weigh the coins. The banks keep saying that they increased interest rates because they have to borrow from U.S. banks. My question is, do you know of any Cayman bank that has ever had to borrow from U.S. banks? I think, that is the case in most instances because they deal not necessarily with correspondent banks, but they do receive their funds from most U.S. banks. And, of course, in most instances, when you take loans out, those loans are in U.S. dollars as well. Those loans are in U.S. dollars. I'm trying to find one here, and we have a caller, so that will give me an opportunity to. Here we go. This young man, and this came in on Monday, and for some reason I didn't see it. And the person says, I would like to send happy birthday to my grandnephew, Jairi Willis. He is celebrating his 10th birthday, the double digits. Greetings, and coming from his grand aunt, Mitzi. So, Jairi, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Jairi Willis, a belated happy birthday to you. Hope you're still in the vehicle on your way to school so that you can hear this as well. We have a caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Morning, Mr. Connor. How are you this morning?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. Nice to hear your voice back on the radio.
Thank you. Thank you.
I took a lot of coins into First Caribbean Bank, and I have numerous accounts there, and they did not charge me anything. Nothing.
Okay.
I suggest that First Caribbean do their due diligence thoroughly. They're very thoroughly, but they're very good with local customers. They're excellent customer service. I must say that. In the loan department, we have a Natalie Water, and she's an excellent customer service for the loans manager.
Mm-hmm. And you said you don't have an account there, and they have cashed those coins in for you without any charge.
A lot of 1 cent. Like I had tons of 1 cent, like, over $60 worth of 1 cent.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And they gave me the bags, and I bagged them. There were no problems, and I had lots of 10 cents. I had lots of quarters that were lying around the house, and I just think it was time to just take them in.
Mm-hmm.
And there were no penalties ever whatsoever. Also, if you take a draft there to change it, it's not a $50 charge like the rest of the banks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And also, I got to tell you about credit union. They're also number one in their Cayman.
Oh, yes, they are. They are. Mine. I wish the credit union was really the services that were available to everyone, other than just civil service and statutory authority and government companies, members, and their families. I wish it was extended to more.
I don't think so, because it wouldn't be Caymanized, and then the bank would be controlled.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm happy
Good point.
with it being Caymanian right now.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. So if you go to the other big RBC, they charge us $50 to change a draft over $2,500 or $3,000.
Mm-hmm.
And the higher it goes, the more money they charge. So I'm telling everyone, check First Caribbean, and if you have an account at Credit Union, take your money there. It's safe. Have a good day.
Okay, make sure you get your fees because you're a good spokesman for them. Very good. But it's good to hear the positives as well as the negatives, because there are good corporate citizens out there, and then there are some shady corporate citizens as well who are only looking out for their bottom line. And just a point of clarity, the credit union isn't just for Caymanians. It is for government employees, be you Caymanian or non-Caymanian, statutory authorities and government companies, the employees of those as well. I believe that they may have encompassed some of the utility companies as well, because there was one particular utility a provider who had a sort of credit union set up, and they were looking to merge that with the credit union. For those of you who may have information on that, I would certainly be happy if you would share that with us as well. But my point is that it is not for Caymanians only. If you're a civil servant, if you're a staff or a family member of a person who is employed by a statutory authority or government company, you also qualify to be a credit union member. And that is where most people do their conduct their finances with the credit union. They have very favorable loan rates, and at the end of the year, you get a dividend, because what it is all about members helping members. It's a cooperative credit union. You're a member, you take out a loan, the interest that you pay on those loans, that interest goes to all of the other members in the form of some form of a dividend later on. You also will get your dividend. There are many people who have been with the credit union. That has been their only banking facility, and they continue to do so as well. So credit union, you're getting a big push this morning, from us as well, getting lots of coverage from us here on For the Record. I have another one that, this one came in on Monday as well, but because we had guests in the studio and we were talking about particular issues about the Cayman Islands economy, I was unable to share this, but I will read it now. And this person says, good morning. I would like to find out when a person is on a temporary 3-month work permit and this person wants to change the employment to work for a new company after the 3-month permit is finished. The other company is willing to put in a next 3 month. So my question is, how long does a temporary take to be approved? Because to my understanding, it takes up to 10 working days. So why is it that the officer would only give 5 days extension when the person stated they were requesting 2 weeks to cover the time it takes for the temporary to be approved? Well, it shouldn't. I would have used the word it takes 2 weeks for the temporary application to be considered, because there is no guarantee that it would be approved. So, choice of words there. But this person has written and said it takes 2 weeks to cover the time. The person was asking for 2 weeks to cover the time it takes for the temporary to be approved. Clearly, this is just a move to collect the $50 for the second extension. These poor people will have to find when they come back for the second week of extension. This is not fair. When on the extension form they asked for what length of time you wish to extend for, and the person just put 2 weeks, the time it takes for the temporary to be considered. This is just not fair. It's an indirect tax. And the person said they were waiting to hear get an answer from me. I hope that they're listening this morning, because I would say that, firstly, I don't believe that the person considering and giving the extension of time is seeking to gain another $50 from that person, simply because the individual who is doing it has absolutely nothing to gain. They're not going to get that $50, does not go to them. Their monthly salary is not going to increase as a result of them earning $50 more for the Cayman Islands government. What I believe it may be is that someone not being rational in their thinking, and saying, okay, here's the person, and I believe that they still have the ability. When I was there was a system in place. If a person came to you and came to the counter and said, I have an application in for a temporary work permit, the officer had the ability to query that information online and to see whether or not that application had been submitted. As long as the paperwork had been registered into the mail registry, the electronic system, the mail registry, you could tell whether or not an application had been submitted. So I believe it is the person who is considering the extension not thinking far enough ahead in terms of saying, well, if it's going to take 2 weeks, let me give the person 2 weeks for that purpose. There may be other reasons as well for granting that. But in any event, if the person is being given less extension than they have requested, I believe that the proper business thing to do and the fair thing to do would be to tell that person why they're only being given 7 days as opposed to the 14 days that they have requested. But let me make it clear that the individual, the officer, has absolutely nothing to gain financially from the person having to come back a second time to pay an additional $50. We have a few callers. Let's go to the phone lines. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, O.C.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm very well. I hope you're doing the same.
Thank you very much.
O.C., I'm calling in respect of the banks because I have been seeing that some of the banks, I'm not going to say all because Butterfield has been extremely good to me, but some of the banks is allowed to act like cartels. I mean, you got a bank, a particular bank, I'm not going to be naming them, but the whole public knows who that bank that is. You go to cash a check. If you go there with a check for $20, it is their check, you know, not another bank check. It's their check,
right?
And they're going to charge you $10 to change that check. No, that doesn't happen in the real world, you know. And to see that the monetary authority, let's call them out by name, the monetary authority, sit here and allow that to happen, you know, to people in this island. You imagine, O.C., if somebody works, right? Just for argument's sake, the poor person goes to work and the person employing him says, okay, well, I don't have any cash, so let me give you a check. And it's drawn in this particular bank. You worked and you're going to be paid $50 for your work. That's the agreement that we had in place. And that man goes to the bank and got to pay $10 to get that check changed. That is ridiculous. And I submit that the monetary authority needs to take some control of this situation. Who is it? I mean, who else is going to defend us in these situations? You know, the monetary authority is there to rule and regulate the financial industry in the Cayman Islands. And it should stop. I mean, it should stop. When I go and get a checkbook from a bank, I pay them whatever fees that is there. The money is in my account. So why are you charging the person that has this check? Why are you charging them a fee to change the check? When you listen, O.C., some bad things can happen in this country if things don't get sorted out here. People is getting fed up with what is taking place in this little island. People is getting fed up. And there's nobody, everybody has pocket is lined, so there's nobody out there to look after the middle class or the poor people in this island. And we're gonna turn an island like Jamaica pretty soon if somebody does not start to go out and be of some assistance in these areas to people.
Yeah, caller, you mentioned Jamaica, and the funny thing is that if we were being like Jamaica in this particular instance, the financial institutions in Jamaica attempted to do it sometime last year or year before last as well, and the public were in uproar about it, and they made their views and their feeling. They made their views clear and let them know how they felt, and they reduced the amount that they were charging. So maybe we need to emulate Jamaica in this respect, and the people need to be more vocal about it, need to go and talk to their bankers about it as well.
Well, I mean, but the problem is with Caymanians, right? Let me tell you, the problem with Caymanians is we're a bunch of crabs in a barrel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what will happen is, me and OC will arrange this big thing for tomorrow morning, and you'll get 1,000 them say they're gonna come out, and next morning they're gonna be me and OC stand up there. That's how Caymanians are.
Okay.
Nothing but a load of mouth and a load of crabs in a barrel. That's how we as Caymanians are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. We have to go to a commercial break. We still have a caller on hold. We will take your call as soon as we return from this commercial break.
My dad is the best. He was always there to protect me and guide me to be a better person. He helped shape me into the woman that I am today. But I was never prepared for the day that I had to protect and take care of him. It was terrifying and a total role reversal. But I will always be there for him like he was for me. When it comes to his medical care, I go where he always did, West Bay Pharmacy.
We know the difficulty of caring for elder family members. At West Bay Pharmacy, we can help assist you with caring for your loved ones by providing quality medicine and some of the most efficient home healthcare items possible. We provide precise calculations with your prescriptions to ensure your medical safety. West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you.
This week at Kirk Home Center, 3-in-1 self-propelled lawnmower for $399. Save on an expandable garden hose for $39.69 and stow it away in a resin wicker hose reel for $69.99. Save on your next project with a drywall sander for $649.29 and keep power going with a 2,500 watt generator for $355.49.
Kirk's Home Center, we got a great deal in store for you.
This Easter weekend, the Cayman Islands will welcome the rest of the Caribbean, and you do not want to miss it. Carifta 2019 takes place at the Truman Bodden Sports Complex from April 20th to 22nd. Watch the region's most talented track and field athletes compete and come cheer on your Cayman athletes. Get ready to raise your flags at the Caribbean's biggest athletic event this Easter weekend. It's Carifta 2019. Tickets start as low as $10. On sale now at CaymanCarifta2019.ky. See you at the games.
Carifta 2019, brought to you in partnership with the Cayman Islands Government and CUC. Sponsored by the Cayman Islands Athletic Association, DART, Maples Group, Pinnacle Media, and Radio Cayman.
It's all about unity.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guests in the studio at this time, so we have an open line for the duration of the show. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning to you too, OC.
Good morning, ma'am. How are you?
I'm okay, and I got one little joke to tell you about riding. I was riding my bicycle the other day, and I thought I'll go down in this little back road now, and I'm going to do what I used to do, when I was much younger, school days, right? I decided I'll let go the handlebars and ride with my hands behind my back.
Mm-hmm.
I end up in a clump of bush.
Oh, wow. My advice on that is try with one hand first, and when you feel comfortable with one hand off the handlebar, then you try it with the second one.
No, I did it with one hand, I thought, okay, this is fine. Let me do it with the second one. And I had to get up and laugh at myself. I say, good thing it was a clump of bush.
Well, we're thankful that you weren't injured.
No. It was just bush and nobody around. I said, thank you, Lord. Nobody didn't see me. Anyway, this is what I call in about. You were speaking about temporary work permits and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, I knew, I don't know how it is now, I knew that a person expecting to come to work here had to get the work permit first from wherever they're coming from to prove that they are legally to work in Grand Cayman. The airline usually didn't accept them unless they could prove that they had a work permit. Now, if they were traveling on a one-way, if they were attempting to travel on a one-way ticket. Yes, that is true. That is so true. I don't know if that is gone out of the window or what. What I don't like, OC, is that many people get Caymanians. Let me make that clear. Caymanians get people work permit with big promises. And when the people get here, they don't have any work. So they go around from place to place and grab an hour there and a half a day there and a day there. And then if they get caught, they're prosecuted. But what about prosecuting that Caymanian person that had got them that work permit that don't have work for them and that they got to go out and find work and then turn around and pay that Caymanian back? Now that happened. That happened many times that I know about. This one I know about. I know about it for sure. Mm-hmm. And the person was grabbed up by the Customs Department, Immigration Department, and thrown in jail from a Thursday, or the lockup from a Thursday to a Monday. And it was a local person that had gotten him a work permit but had no work for him. And then when he did get little work, he had to turn around and pay for his work permit. Shouldn't we not prosecute that local person as well?
Mm-hmm. I think one of our callers on Monday morning, Mr. Johan Moxham, posed a similar question, and we didn't have time to fully cover it, but I will, based on your conversation up as well, we need to talk more about it, and I'll try to talk more about it on the show this morning as well.
Yes, it should be done. We should prosecute these people because that's inhumane. You don't do them. That's done in other countries, but not Caymanians. Caymanians supposed to be a Christian society, and people that are coming in here with work permits and got to bring their great grandfather and their grandmother and their dogs and the cats and the people that are getting them these work permits are paying for all of that. That should be stopped too, because anything happen in this island, like natural disasters or anything, they run and leave these animals. I know by Ivan. They just run and leave these islands. One more thing I need to say. For God's sake, I'm asking the representatives of this district of West Bay, please, even if you need to hire some our people down here, they're just sitting around all day on the trees and still being fed and clothed, doing nothing, idle, to clean up the district of West Bay. Not because His Royal Highness is coming here, and please to clean up the West Bay Clinic. Now, inside, the lady that does the cleaning keeps that really clean and nice. It does look like a clinic inside. Outside, it's horrible looking. It is horrible looking. I noticed that most drugstores, pharmacies do not have anything for a ramp for handicapped people, no railings for handicapped people. I've helped many people because I could be in that position. And also, when they're trying to get up on the steps of many restaurants, particular the fast food, it is nothing for them. It is nothing. It should be, I know it's a law, but it is not enforced for the handicapped. Thank you very much, O.C., for your time, and good morning to my friend Susan.
Thank you very much, caller, for that as well. One of our other listeners has pointed out there's another financial institution that charging customers $2 to deposit money in their accounts as well. And that person says that these banks need to be regulated because they are ripping people off. No MLA wants to touch these banks. This is a very sad situation. I think, and maybe want to hear from you, whether or not we need some sort of consumer protection agency in the Cayman Islands. Some advocate for the consumers. Now, there are those who will tell you, oh, we have the laws in place. It's just a matter for them to be enforced. But if you had a consumer protection agency with the ability to sit down with people and talk and try to come to some rational solutions to some of the concerns that the poor people have, that those who feel that they have no power, that they have no clout, and they have no remedies to their issues, who could sit down and talk with executives of the Bankers Association to talk about the concerns that people have in relation to these fees and see, what can be worked out, what can be negotiated between the parties to come to a fair solution, of this problem. Now, mark you that we're not hearing the perspective of the banks in this situation because simply most of them remain silent. I'm sure that their CEOs are not necessarily listening this time of the morning to any talk show, whether or not it is put in the print media or what. But we're not hearing their side of the story. And as you know, the whole issue of compliance in the Cayman Islands has meant that additional costs are incurred by financial institutions. But at the same time, many financial institutions in this country have been getting a free ride for a long time. Yes, they pay hefty fees to the government, or what we out there on the street may consider to be hefty fees, but not necessarily hefty fees to them when you look at their bottom line. So they do incur certain expenses that they're attempting to recoup by charging these fees as well. So we need to look to see it from their perspective. Now, whether you do that to your loyal, regular customers who have sometimes not one account, but several accounts with your institution, that is another matter. But in trying to create a balance with this whole thing, we also need to look at the from the perspective of the banks. And in the case of the changing of coins, should the bank take a loss, even if it's only 25 cents or 50 cents, if a roll of coin contain a few Jamaican coins that are not worth the metal that they are made out of? And I don't want to sound to be disparaging the Jamaican currency at all, but those persons who engage in such nefarious activity, to me, that is as low as you can get when you're trying to defraud your landlord, or you're trying to defraud the owner of a laundromat by putting false coins into fake coins or coins from another jurisdiction into the machines as well. We have a few more messages that I want to read, but we have to go to a commercial break now. When we return, I will continue to share what my listening and viewing audience are sharing with me. Please stay tuned.
It's March Madness on all SUVs at BAM Motors, with SUVs starting as low as $20,500 and savings up to $6,000. Find the SUV that fits your budget and island living style. Choose between the roomy 4Runner, the bold Fortuner, the 7-seater Rush, or BAM Motors' #1 selling SUV, the RAV4, all from Toyota. Or choose the compact EcoSport from Ford. Save now on the best SUV deal ever from BAM Motors, with savings up to $6,000 and SUVs starting at $20,500. Drive home the deal of the year during BAM Motors March SUV sale. BAM Motors, Walkers Road.
I'm Deputy Governor Franz Manderson, inviting you to register for the DG's 5K Challenge Grand Cayman on Sunday, 29th of April. I'm challenging you to take part. Register now at caymanactive.com/DG5K.
March is Honouring Women Month. Hashtag Balance for Better. Support the Family Resource Centre's annual Colour Me Purple 5K fun walk run event and make a difference. Register now. Adults pay only $25 for entry at T-shirt and bib. The Colour Me Purple 5K walk run takes place on Sunday, March 17th, 7 Mile Beach at 6:30 a.m. Book now via caymanactive.com or stop by the Family Resource Centre's temporary location on the 3rd floor of the Old Walkers building on Mary Street today. Support Honouring Women Month. Walk or run for an equal chance for all.
For the record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guests in the studio, but we have an open line. We have one caller. Before I go to that caller, we have another email here and the writer says, Ash Wednesday has passed. Easter is just about here. Where will the campers go now that the old West Bay Road is closed? The parcel of land near the public beach parking lot and the Seafire was supposed to be for a camping area. However, it has not been used. Was that not part of the third agreement in the DART agreement? And they want to find out, want to see whether or not we can find out about this and inform the public. Okay, we will try to see what we can do in that regard to determine what is happening to the area that was supposed to be designated as a camping area there. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Okay, we lost that caller. Let's go to something more positive. I want to extend our congratulations to those members, senior members of the Cayman Islands Fire Service who have been promoted And I will basically read verbatim from a press release announcing those appointments. And it reads, the Ministry of Financial Services and Home Affairs is pleased to announce the appointment of 3 Caymanians as the new Deputy Chief Fire Officers for the Cayman Islands Fire Service. Mr. Roy Charlton is the Deputy Chief Fire Officer for Domestic. Mr. Brevon Elliott has been appointed to the role of Deputy Chief Fire Officer for Aviation, and Miss Tina Choi is the Deputy Chief Fire Officer for Administration. These senior officers were selected following the completion of a rigorous open recruitment exercise. Chief Officer Dr. Dax Basdeo announced the promotion as at a Cayman Islands Fire Service all-staff meeting on Thursday, the 7th of February, which was also attended by the Honorable Deputy Governor, Mr. Franz Manderson. The Home Affairs Ministry has been supporting the Cayman Islands Fire Service on its journey to becoming a world-class uniformed service, an essential element of which has been a strategy to provide essential training opportunities with a focus on leadership development for those who have identified a wish to be taken on such roles within the organization. All 3 deputies participated in the first round of coaching that was delivered by Resolve, RESOLVE, a local company that the ministry partnered with in early 2018 to assist personnel with the development of essential leadership and interpersonal skills. In response to the announcement of this appointment, Minister of Financial Services and Home Affairs, Honorable Tara Rivers, said, and she's quoted as saying, "We are extremely pleased to have 3 experienced and highly capable Caymanian officers fill these critical senior management roles within the fire service. I am confident that they will continue to work hard, strive for excellence, and be the ambassadors of our mission to develop and promote the highest quality of fire officers and create a world-class fire service." In addition to coaching with Resolve, the successful candidates took advantage of a variety of leadership development opportunities provided by the ministry, as well as several other training initiatives provided to civil servants to strengthen their knowledge and skill set before applying for their new roles. As Deputy Chief Fire Officer Domestic, Mr. Charlton will provide strategic direction for all domestic operations and effectively manage and support operational personnel. He will also assume the role of incident commander as required and be responsible for the provision of an inshore marine search and rescue. Having served with the Cayman Islands Fire Service for 31 years, primarily in the domestic division, Mr. Charlton is passionate about the organization and the function that it plays in the community. With a degree in public administration, he continues to further his rescue and firefighting knowledge by completing a number of technical training courses primarily focused on incident command, mass casualty management, and emergency response. Within his new role as Deputy Chief Fire Officer, Aerodrome, Mr. Elliott will lead and provide strategic direction for all aerodrome fire services and ensure the division is effectively managed, equipped, staffed, trained, and operational in accordance with the various statutory requirements. Mr. Elliott is an academically and technically accomplished fire officer who has spent the last few years working primarily in fire safety and inspections. He has a bachelor's degree in business administration and is currently pursuing a further degree in fire science. When previously acting in his new role, Mr. Elliott worked closely with the aerodrome team to develop programs to address all deficiencies in training and competency. Ms. Choi has had a wide-ranging career with the Cayman Islands Fire Service, having served for more than 21 years in many areas, including domestic operations, fire prevention, and investigations, and most recently acting as the Deputy Chief Fire Officer Administration. Her administrative responsibilities include monitoring of the Cayman Islands Fire Service budget and overseeing provisions of fire prevention and investigation services, fleet and facilities management training and development, and the development of policies and procedures to support the achievement of the aims and objectives of the Cayman Islands Fire Service. Ms. Choi continues to invest in her fire service career as she is currently enrolled in a degree program majoring in fire administration and fire investigations. In supporting the new appointments, Deputy Governor and Head of the Civil Service, the Honorable Franz Manderson, said, and is quoted, "I commend the 3 officers for answering the call to serve in these key leadership positions within the fire service. We depend on the fire service together with other first response agencies to ensure the safety of the people of the Cayman Islands and its infrastructure. I am confident that Deputies Charlton, Elliott, and Choi will continue to have a positive impact on the fire service and drive the agency forward to achieve world-class status." Dr. Basadeo added that these internal promotions will create significant stability and support to all staff members and contribute to the success of the newly shaped organization by fostering a culture of leadership development. As the ministry continues to recruit qualified persons to fulfill other essential roles within the fire service, we will ensure that officers continue to be provided with a variety of professional development opportunities so that they are well equipped to compete for promotional opportunities and can take on the same with pride and confidence. Then it talks about the recruiting, the interview panel for the recruitment, and it goes on to name them as well. But I just want to say kudos to the fire service. What was a little bit disappointing in this is that they didn't have anything to say in terms of the chief fire officer. When will we get one? Where will that person come from if they know? And what are the plans in terms of these 3 deputy chief fire officers for one of them eventually to assume the post of chief fire officer. With those comments, we will go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Good morning, caller. Welcome to For the Record. Ms. Susan, do we have a caller? No calls. We're a little bit too early for the headline news at 9 o'clock. Are we a little bit too early for the headline news at 9 o'clock, Ms. Susan? Are we ready for 9 o'clock news? Not ready yet. So I need to find something else to talk about in the meantime. Oh, yeah, a few things. We talked about the BVI and their elections that they had recently. And believe it or not, folks, the BVI, British Virgin Islands, are going to have a by-election within the next few months, if not few weeks. Why is that? That is because one of the members-elect, Mr. Mark Vanderpoel, has written to the governor and advised that he will not take his seat in the Legislative Assembly in the Virgin Islands, and as a result of that, there has to be a by-election. Now, on the blogs and everything else, there were calls for the person who had the second highest number of votes that person should be given the seat. That was resoundingly rejected by the governor and others. And when we return, we can talk about why that was rejected and why that rejection was a sound and firm legal move on the part of the authorities in the British Virgin Islands. So please stay tuned. For the Record, we'll be back shortly.
Continuing the Caymanian tradition.
Let Cora keep my ground so clean.
The heart and soul of the Cayman people. Thank you for keeping the culture alive.
There's wisdom news every day. From East End to Georgetown, down into West Bay.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman.
Headline. Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headline. These are the biggest stories right now.
The Ministry of Community Affairs teams up with the Alex Panton Foundation to host a series of community presentations on bullying and young men at risk. The 10 sessions start tomorrow at Webster Memorial Church Hall in Boddentown with an evening presentation on bullying. Head to radiocayman.gov.ky for a full list of upcoming sessions. The risk of a disorderly Brexit has never been higher, the European Union's chief negotiator has said following MP's second rejection of Prime Minister Theresa May's deal. Michael Barnier said the EU, quote, cannot go any further in trying to persuade MPs to back the agreed terms of exit as the government considers its next move after Mrs. May's deal was defeated by 149 votes. Mr. Barnier said it was time for the UK to, quote, take responsibility for its actions. And the boss of Ethiopian Airlines has called for the grounding of all Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft until it's established they're safe to fly. Many countries, including Cayman, have already suspended the plane after one of the airline's jets crashed Sunday, minutes after takeoff, killing all 157 people on board. But U.S. officials say the jet is safe. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guest in the studio, so we have an open line all morning. Again, I will remind you of the phone numbers. Toll free, 1-800-534-8255. Other landlines, 949-8037, 949-6990. Email for the record at candew.ky. WhatsApp us, 925-3261. And if you just simply want to follow us and watch us, subscribe to the Radio Cayman live stream. We have one caller. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Good morning, caller. Welcome to For the Record.
Hi, morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning. Yes, I can. How are you?
Okay, great. I'm good. Morning, OC. I just caught a little bit of what you were saying earlier about consumer protection, and it took time for us to have some sort of consumer protection agency. Well, I know we've been begging for one for as long as I can remember. It doesn't seem like it's much of a priority on anyone's list that can do anything about it, unfortunately. Now, you know, businesses have their interests represented.
Yes.
By the chamber, and that's fine. But the consumer really has no one. And in fact, just yesterday I had some people contacting me about wanting to start a petition because they have some concern about the National Housing Council and their interest rates, which appears to be higher than even the traditional banks. And as you can appreciate, that's a government-run agency. And, you know, they're wondering what can they do because they're paying a prime rate of interest.
And that's through the CIDB?
Exactly, yes. Which is government-owned. So, again, you know, consumers complain a lot and they agitate for change, and then very little appears to be done. Now, what I will say is, you know, with the advent of social media and certain platforms online, we have become, we meaning the consumer, have become extremely powerful. And I think at the end of the day, that's the only hope that people have at this particular stage, because there doesn't appear to be any formal organization that will be organized. You know, for many years, I've looked into the possibility of acquiring a Better Business Bureau here in the Cayman Islands. Unfortunately, that is an American organization, an American model, so they haven't wrapped their minds around the possibility of being made available on an international level. And I've kind of ran around that circle so many times that I've lost count, like trying to find out, well, how do we get a better business bureau here for the Cayman Islands? Now, I suppose we could just start our own agency and call it something else, and just set it up as a nonprofit. But, it takes money to fund these types of organizations.
Right.
One of the things that Cayman Mall Road has done is we have set up, as part of our blog, a section dedicated to consumer issues and consumer concerns. And we do have people who contact us, about a number of different topics and issues. And we try to highlight and warn people. Now, here's an example of how incredibly you think the Cayman Islands is small and you've got a mechanism in place to try to warn people, but yet sometimes people still miss it and they fall prey to these companies. So some months ago, the end of last year, we actually featured a local shutter company that didn't have a business license. They were out there taking people's money and operating nonetheless. DCI didn't seem particularly bothered when they were contacted by the consumer. The consumer even went as far as reporting the matter to the police. And, the police kind of filed it in file number 13. I don't know, it's the drawer where everything just kind of disappears. And nothing was done. They kind of tell consumers, oh, well, it's a civil litigation issue. It has nothing to do with us as the police. But we've seen in the past where they've interceded. If it was a tourist complaining that someone stole $2,000 from them, even for a business deal, they would have gotten involved. So it's a very selective process when it's criminal versus when it's civil. But nonetheless, the person got no redress from the existing agencies that are in place, including those responsible for businesses. So they came to us, and as a result of our publication and us posting up the story, the person got a full refund. Now, sadly, OC, there's more than one person out there who has been taken advantage of by this exact same company. So, the owners don't have the financial capability to give everyone a refund that they've taken money from. And there are at least 5 or 6 other people out there who are currently, to the best of my knowledge, still waiting on either a partial or a full refund for money that they have paid on shutters that have never been delivered. And another consumer contacted us recently. He said, unfortunately, he missed the original story, and he went and he did business with them, and he gave them, almost $2,000 again. And of course, same pattern. He's out of that money, and he's wondering what can he do.
Wow.
I had a chat with the police, and I said, at what point is someone allowed to go out there and defraud 10, 15, 20 consumers before it then becomes, okay, this isn't a civil issue. This is actually someone who is purposely defrauding the consumers, and that now becomes a criminal case.
Right. And caller, if I can interrupt you a second, what difference is that than someone selling the promise of permanent residency or residency to someone, albeit it's through the government, but the police and the authorities taking that one up and bringing criminal charges? What's the difference between the two? I don't see much of any.
Yeah, I think from a legal perspective, the only difference is that one person does have a legitimate, quote-unquote, possibility of a legitimate business. So there's no legitimate business of being able to sell status. That's straight out illegal, right? But there is a legitimate business of being a shutter installer, provided you have followed, you've gotten the license and so on. But honestly, this person was operating without a license. And on top of that, they were defrauding, so it's a question of at what point does it become fraud and you've crossed the line of, okay, this is just a civil dispute. And I think the real way to answer that from a legal perspective, and again, I just want to put this disclaimer out there, I'm obviously not a lawyer, but I do have a law degree and I've won at least 5 or 6 cases by now. So I have a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of experience. But what I would say is the real difference from a criminal and prosecution perspective is what was the intent of the individual entering into the agreement. If his intent was to actually take their money and not provide the service, which obviously seems to be the case, then that's where a criminal case can be brought. And in my opinion, there's a very strong criminal case here. And, police are saying to me, well, people need to come forward and file a complaint.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, how many people do you need? You've got one person already who has filed a complaint. How many more are required, before you do your job? And this is where I want to say to the consumers that oftentimes there is a responsibility on your part as a consumer to do certain things. So if someone has done something to you, even in a contractual situation, and you feel like they have defrauded you, file the police report. If for no other reason for them to build a record on that person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some people are reluctant because they don't want others to know that they have been suckered into a situation too.
Yeah, and I mean, that I completely understand. And we're always reluctant to speak out. And the smaller the community is, the more reluctant we are to speak out because everybody knows their business and everybody knows what's going on. But, what's the alternative? The alternative is to allow this person to continue doing what he's doing. And obviously, he's not going to stop on his own. Now he has actually had his wife take out a business license in her name, and she's trading as the company, and somehow they think that that's going to make a difference. So I think consumers, number one, need to be very aware of what's going on. They need to ask questions. We're now all interconnected in some way or another. We all have contacts on WhatsApp. We're all on Facebook. We're all on social media. If you're considering doing business with a person or a company, ask around. Like, there's no official mechanism in place, but there are unofficial, resources that can inform you of what people think about that company or that organization. So simply ask. I think that's a good place to start. I'm interested in getting shutters. Who would you recommend? And you'll find out in quick order what people think of companies and what companies you need to stay away from. And then secondly, if you find yourself in a situation where you've been taken advantage of, you need to let other people know. You need to warn other people. And I think warning other people includes going through the official steps and reporting it to the official authorities, whether it's DCI, whether it's the police or whatever. Even if you feel like they're not going to do anything about it, still report it because you're building a history of complaints against that person that could eventually lead to something being done.
Now, caller, earlier you mentioned about the role of social media and everything in similar things. Now, do we have any type of service in the Cayman Islands now where companies register their businesses and they're given some sort of a rating, or people who have had experiences with them are able to put their comments up there, so that if I'm looking for a roofer, I may go on there and look on the construction companies, and I may see various ones, and I may see comments about that. Is there any type of service available in the Cayman Islands that does that? Or is that an opportunity for someone to do that?
Yeah, I think it is. Definitely. We see companion services like Angie's List, for example, in the U.S., where it's built on the same premise, right? But yeah, unfortunately in Cayman there isn't, because, here's the honest truth, OC. Most people in this community don't want to do anything unless there's some financial gain from it. So setting up a portal like that is going to cost money. It's going to require resources, somebody's time.
But those people who want to be, those companies that want to be on there, that know that if they're a legit, upfront, reputable company, that by being on there they will have an advantage over others, they would pay for the service, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, you do have a point, but I hate to say it, but even the companies that have a lot of complaints are not the most legitimate. They seem to still get business. And this is what is amazing to me. Like, there's another company, and again, I'm trying not to call any names.
Yes, that's right.
There's another company who offers streaming services. Let's just put it that way. And this company has such a poor record that even when you go on their Facebook page, you see people who have made comments, because when you're a business page, you do have the option, although you can turn it off, you do have the option of people being able to recommend or rate your company. And this person has had very negative comments from a number of different customers saying, this guy's a ripoff artist, don't use his service, et cetera, et cetera. And yet, there's still people who use his service. I know, because they have come to me when they're in a lurch and when they've spent $300-400, and they're like, listen, I've just wasted all this money with this guy, and he hasn't delivered what he's promised. And now I'm hearing that you're kind of the go-to expert in this area. And I just have to shake my head. Like, as a competitor in that market space, I try not to ever say anything negative about my, especially when I'm talking to a potential customer, about the competition. But I am always in awe. And the last person I said to them, this was just a few weeks ago, I said, just out of curiosity, how did you find this person? You know, did you look at their social media page? And no, it was just a matter of they drove by their physical location, saw an advert, it looked good, and that's all it took for this person to do business with them. Mm-hmm. So again, I think the consumers need to be smarter. They need to educate themselves more, mm-hmm. and the onus is on them. Just like in law, we say buyer beware, right? And there's a legal term for that, caveat emptor. Mm-hmm. Buyer beware. It's on the buyer to make sure, the consumer, to make sure that you're doing certain things to actually protect yourself. And that includes a little bit of research. That includes not giving your money to someone who already has a poor reputation mm-hmm. in that market mm-hmm. space.
But not everyone is on an equal footing with that, and that is why I believe that we need to have some sort of a protection agency out there for those persons who don't have the ability to and the wherewithal to make themselves aware of these things. Caller, I'm going to ask you to leave us there. We have to go to a commercial break. Nice talking with you. Certainly very informative and sensible conversation. Thank you very much for that. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes. Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
The Cayman Pharmacy Group would like to thank the Cayman communities for their continuous support for over the past decade. CTMH Doctors Hospital Pharmacy opened its doors in March 2000. West Bay Pharmacy first opened their doors in March 2004. The Cayman Pharmacy Group was established in July 2007. Throughout the years, our CPG family has provided more than just pharmaceuticals to our loyal friends and customers. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has protected the lives of our medical community by securing the best healthcare advice and pharmaceutical services. To us at CPG, you are more than just a number. So, we are taking the time to say thank you for choosing CPG. The Cayman Pharmacy Group, taking care of your health.
It's March Madness on all SUVs at BAM Motors, with SUVs starting as low as $20,500 and savings up to $6,000. Find the SUV that fits your budget and island living style. Choose between the roomy 4Runner, the bold Fortuner, the 7-seater Rush, or BAM Motors' #1 selling SUV, the RAV4, all from Toyota. Or choose the compact EcoSport from Ford. Save now on the best SUV deal ever from BAM Motors, with savings up to $6,000 and SUVs starting at $20,500. Drive home the deal of the year during BAM Motors March SUV sale. BAM Motors, Walkers Road.
Rotaract Blue Cayman Islands Fred Spears Walk Run 2019. Early Sunday morning, March 24 at the Holiday Inn Resort, Crystal Harbor, West Bay Peninsula. Registration begins at 6 a.m. Walkers step out at 6:30 sharp. Runners leap ahead at 6:45 a.m. Your entry fee is only $25 CI. All proceeds go to the Fred Spears Vocational Grant. Visit caymanactive.com/Fred Spears. Rotaract Blue. Inspiration to the next generation.
Headlines.
With the latest headlines.
Headlines.
All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international.
Headlines.
Turning to international news. Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. Radio Cayman News.
Headlines.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
For the record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guests in the studio, so we have the open line. This morning I want to go back to that news story about the promotions and the new appointments at the Cayman Islands Fire Service. And I did mention the fact that the interview panel, it included the CEO of the Cayman Islands Airport Authority, Mr. Albert Anderson, and this one is important. A retired Fire Chief Jeffrey Pechura, who successfully led several fire agencies in the U.S. during his career, and in the ministry, of course, was represented by the Chief Officer, Dr. Dax Basdeo, and the Acting Chief HR Officer, Dr. Josette Kimlan Lawrence. I'm going to go back to this retired fire chief from the U.S. because I heard through the grapevine that there is a possibility that the new fire chief may come from the United States. Now, I don't know how old this retired fire chief is, Mr. Pechura, but, I mean, if he is still in this position where he can lead a fire department, may be a good opportunity to have him in place on a temporary situation with the proviso that one of these three officers will be. And whether or not you want to make it competitive within the three officers, or if you want to designate one, and I know that in the civil service they don't like to do that, to handpick people, even though it depends on what area in government you're talking about and who you're talking about, whether or not they become handpicked or they have to go through a competitive process. But it may not be a bad idea. Put this gentleman in place, decide who your fire chief is going to be, and let him lead him in that direction, and do whatever you have to do. If it means seconding that person off to other jurisdictions for whatever additional exposure may be needed. I know when I was appointed Chief Immigration Officer Designate, I went off to Canada on secondment. I went to Bermuda on secondment as well, while Jerry Maguire, seconded from the United Kingdom, was here. So it can be done. Now, that was in the mid-1990s, and maybe the civil service has moved ahead and moved forward, and they no longer do that, because in their attempt to be a world-class civil service, they have to emulate everything that the world does. There are some things that are made uniquely for the Cayman Islands, and one of those things has to be promoting and looking out for our own. So sometimes we have to do things a little differently. And there's nothing wrong with you going back to what was done in the mid-1990s, designating a person to be the head or whatever for a position, and as a result of that, that person knows what they have to do in order to assume that position. One caller, let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Morning, Mr. Moderator.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fine, sir.
Good show yesterday. Thank
you.
Enjoyed it immensely.
I heard your comment with regards to the gentleman from the retired fire officer from the United States.
Yes, sir.
But here's my point where I differ from you. I wouldn't feel good having him been on the selection panel and now also being a candidate for the position, even temporarily. One could say that is a conflict and maybe calls into question the ethics of the situation. And while it may be quite true that everything is all right, everything is kosher, Caesar's wife should not only be clean, but should look to be clean. And so people could say, hey, isn't that coincidental or funny? This man was on a selection panel to pick the deputy, but now he's assuming the position of, if he were already appointed now, that would be a horse of a different color. But for him to get get it now, I would say that leaves room for questioning.
Even on a short-term basis, if we said, for 1 year, or even bring him on as a consultant?
Well, to come on as a consultant is certainly a horse of a different color.
Mm-hmm.
That would certainly be a horse of a different color. And it would be in keeping with his being then a member of the selection panel.
Mm-hmm.
But for him to occupy the post, even temporarily, to my mind, would be graying the area and would leave matters open to query and question.
Fair enough.
Okay? So that's my point, sir.
And comments in relation to my experience in the mid 1970s and what was done then. Do you think that we have gotten to that level of being a first class civil service that we can't resort to designating someone as the head and then giving them the necessary grooming that is needed to tidy up those rough edges for them to take on the leadership?
Oh, that to me, that is practical and wise leadership and preparation. And I like that idea of identifying people, and we should give the persons, the candidates, as much advance notice as possible, so that they also can privately prepare themselves. No, that was a great model. You were almost, to my mind, that was the ideal situation, and we need more of that.
Yes.
We need more of that. So your case was not only an early case, it's a test case, and it should serve as a model for the future. It should serve as a model for the future of how we choose our senior leaders in the civil service. That, to my mind, is a practice that the private sector follows very successfully. Yeah, so you were fortunate, blessed even, and more of that should happen.
Okay, looking forward to your launch, and for those persons who may not have been listening on to Sterling Dwayne's show yesterday, can you do you want to mention the launch of your book, sir?
Yeah, the launch of my latest work, From Guard House
to the Glass House, yes.
Home in Bordentown to the Glass House. One man's journey through the maze of Caymanian politics will take place at the Sir Basil Johnson Hall at the Universal College of the Cayman Islands on Saturday, March the 30th at 6 o'clock. But this is the best book I have written by far, because it takes snippets of my personal journey. I'm immensely personal, intimately personal. I reveal details about my upbringing. Many people think that I had an ideal upbringing. I was born into a dysfunctional family in which my dad was a binge drinker and alcoholic, violently abusive and insane. And it's only the savvy of my mother why she and her children escaped. So I had a really tough time. And I had tragedy early in my family because my father had a massive heart attack. One night he went on a binge and he died at 49.
Wow.
49 years old. So I tell about that struggle. I tell about how the nurturing from my mother and the mentoring, and how my hero was really my paternal grandfather, my father's father, and how I came to cultivate a moral compass and a system of ethics and values from my mother and my grandfather's groundings, and then from the Micro, which I will sing its praises until I die, from the Micro Teachers College, and that grounded me. And then I tell all of my struggles in Canada, in Cayman, being black, being branded a radical, how it was difficult to break into politics. So and I write it, I dedicate it to those hundreds of Caymanian young persons like myself of color, disenfranchised, come from difficult circumstances, and hope that they can learn that they are not to give up under any circumstances, but to keep trying. Because who would believe from all the sufferings I did at Guard House that I would rise to be the kind of man I am? A lot of people tell me, "Oh, that's amazing that you don't drink like your father." No. From early I realized that was detrimental, and I'm only sorry that my father never conquered those demons. I tell the story of his death and how it affected me, how I couldn't forgive him for a long time for robbing his family of his, because when he was sober, he was a great person, good provider, hard worker, fun to be with. But when he drank, he was the devil incarnate. I called him Mr. Jekyll and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah. Question, Mr. Borden. Now, this is sort of like an autobiography, and a lot of the things that you've written in there are extremely personal. Can you talk about, and I know I'm going beyond my commercial break here, but I just wanted to catch this. Talk about the personal choices that you had to make to put this all on paper, with it coming out during your lifetime rather than someone writing a biography later on.
No, I consider that I'm blessed in that I can express myself. I wouldn't trust anyone to write this because if they were sitting down listening to me and I tell some of these incredibly intimate and personal stories, they would have difficulty. There would be too much ambivalence as to what they should say and what they should hold back. I've held back a lot, but I wanted to say what I thought the readers could benefit from in reading the book, and I want my experience to be a learning experience
for others,
to other people.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you asked that question, because in the book I said there was a time, Mr. Connor, when I was angry at what transpired. Can you understand? A bright, educated person with lots to offer, and he was snuffed out by people who didn't listen to a conversation he had, but just branded him a communist. I was angry, and I'm happy that I could express myself through writing, because other people would take other expressions.
Precisely.
I could easily have gone the other way. Indeed, I had a friend who gave me the sobriquet of the last angry man. That's what he used to call me. I was consumed by this anger, and I wanted to get even. But I'm glad that I had the presence of mind and the sense and the balance and the encouragement to know to follow the natural route. And one day I would persevere. But I had great help. People like Mr. Harry McCoy, Clifton Hunter, people like that, Vernon Jackson. And that's why I want to give something back to Caymanian Society, OC, because I could not have made it without these people. I remember Mr. Clifton telling me, "Tucker's son, I want you to go to college." Every time he see me, he'd tell me that. Wow. You know how that made me feel? This man, who was high in society, thinks me so important that he's encouraging me to go to college. So that's what the kind of exemplar I want to be to other Caymanian young people.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Borden. I want to thank you. Certainly appreciate that as well. We have to go to commercial break now. We have one caller as well. We're going to ask that caller to hang in there. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Rotaract Blue Cayman Islands Fred Spears Walk Run 2019. Early Sunday morning, March 24 at the Holiday Inn Resort, Crystal Harbor, West Bay Peninsula. Registration begins at 6 a.m. Walkers step out at 6:30 sharp. Runners leap ahead at 6:45 a.m. Your entry fee is only $25 CI. All proceeds go to the Fred Spears Vocational Grant. Visit KaymanActive.com/Fred Spears. Rotaract Blue. Inspiration to the next generation.
The 2019 Spring Labor Force Survey is currently being conducted by the Economics and Statistics Office. The Labor Force Survey collects data on unemployed and employed people. Trained interviewers with ESO ID cards will visit randomly selected households in all districts. The interviews are confidential in accordance with the statistics law. No individual data will be published or disclosed. Survey data are exempt from freedom of information. For more details, please call the ESO on 516-3329.
See what I'm saying? We're back. I know you all were pining for the show because every time I go out, I keep hearing, when you going to do next show? When you do next show? I like that show, you know? I like that show. So join us for the next. See what I'm saying? I don't know when it is. It's 12:15 to 2:30.
You don't want to miss this unique, informative audience participation, light-hearted show with lots and lots of Cayman jokes, culture, and guests. As we talk about things we say and do, it happening every third Friday on Talk Today.
See what I'm saying is a special feature of Talk Today with contributions from the National Museum, a language, history, and culture show on Radio Cayman 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
Proudly sponsored by Cayman National Bank, proudly serving the Cayman Islands since 1974.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have a caller who's been hanging on for quite a while, so let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Thanks for being so patient.
Good morning, Mr. Connor. Good morning, Ms. Susan, and to all our listeners.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Yes, sir. It's okay. I just want to let you all know that there is a sea education ship in Georgetown today visiting. They are on an expedition of sea education dealing with marine biology. And there's trainees and scientists and trainees on board a student on a sea semester, and it's owned by the Woods Hole Marine Institution, Sea Education, Woods Hole in Massachusetts, America. It carries a complement officers and crew of about 38 people on board. It's a 134-foot sailing vessel, a schooner similar to the Star Flyer, that the sailing cruise vessel that came to Cayman Brac. She's in Georgetown today and can expect to be there for a few days, and I give them an invitation to come over to Cayman Brac. They'll say after seeing and finding out what's happening over there, they may pay us a visit here. I was on board the ship before, so I know exactly what they consist of. I spent maybe about 3 hours on board. Corwith Kramer is the name of the ship. I don't know if any of those same people are on board that when I was on board it 8 years ago, if any of those crew members or any of the scientists or whatever. So they're dealing with marine biologists, studying marine life in the seabed, and also they may visit the Cayman Trench, the Cayman Trough, quite an interesting area now. The Cayman Trough has been classified as the world's hottest undersea hydrothermal vents, producing smoke vents at 3 miles deep below the ocean, pumping smoke out of the vents like a small volcano, constantly pumping smoke at 3 miles deep down into the sea. That is absolutely incredible. The hottest undersea vent was found in the Indian Ocean, now the Cayman Island. Hydrothermal vents in the Cayman Trough, Cayman Trench, is the one classified to be the hottest in the world. And they're located to the southwest of Grand Cayman. And in my thoughts and consideration, the tremors that have been felt in Grand Cayman, think of this: if you have constant fire, molten rock and larvae burning underneath, something is being consumed. If you have a small fire, bush fire or leaf fire, and it's smoldering, underneath is being consumed. So under the seabed, where these hydrothermal vents are producing the smoke, they're being fed by larvae and methane gas and all of that. So when the area gets to the point of having explosions undersea explosions that could cause a tremor to be felt around Grand Cayman. Also saying that the shifting of the tectonic plates.
Yeah.
Yes, but this undersea volcano is 3 black smokers, they're called, 3 of them in a series at 3 miles deep. It's quite a very interesting and quite a scary thing to consider. Under the sea at 3 miles is burning, and it's hot enough to actually melt lead. And undersea submarine went down, and they found the large orange shrimp, which are living in the warm and hot waters that is on the outskirts of these burning rocks, burning volcanoes, undersea vents. That is quite alarming.
Okay. Caller, I want to thank you very much for that information. Very interesting, very enlightening as well. Let's go to the next caller. Good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Good morning, caller. Welcome to For the Record. You may want to turn your radio down, please. Hello? We're having difficulties there, Miss Susan. Can we switch to the next caller? Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning. How are you all?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you?
Good. I was just calling. I need to find out why the big companies on this island how to have part-time workers doing their jobs for them when it is so many Caymanians here on island that are qualified, can do what they are doing.
And when you say part-time, you mean just not working the full a full 8-hour shift?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to other full-time jobs, and they go on shift work, and then they're filling in. Why can't Caymanians have those kind of jobs? I mean, are they doing it because they don't want to pay pension and insurance for the Caymanians? Mm-hmm. It needs to stop, because a lot of these companies are big companies that can't afford to pay pension and insurance. But instead of paying the pension and insurance for Caymanians, they are taking other people from other companies that already have insurance and pension, so they are getting away. And the work, not immigration, the work needs to be, know what is going on, because a lot of this is happening on island.
So these are not people coming from temporary agencies. They're not coming from temp agencies.
They are coming from full-time jobs.
Okay,
but they work on shift.
Mm-hmm.
They work on shift like they're at the airport.
Wow.
And they're already covered. And then they are taking people then to fill in. Sometimes they're just shifting their shirts off, coming to work and doing. I had an incident on Sunday where a lady came in and told me, "Oh, I'm from Indiana." And I met this lady. She was coming from the Turks and Caicos. You know what she said? "I'm coming to Paradise. I'm coming for a job interview. Can you tell me why we have to have people come in this island from Turks and Caicos to do a job interview when Caymanians are here that know what they're doing, know the island, and of course, just give them a chance?"
Yep.
This is, if I had to be walking around, I can tell those people in the workforce where to go and what to do, because it's not only me one that know. A lot of Caymanians know, and the thing is, you know what? They want Caymanians to shut up their mouth, but I am one that will not shut up mine.
Okay. Very good point, caller. And that's a question that people continue to ask. If there's unemployment in the Cayman Islands, then why is it that we have to continue to bring people in? Why aren't we looking for locals? Let's take the caller, and then we will take a commercial break after. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good. I see Elvis McKeever here in the Bronx. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
Good. You remember a couple of days ago we were talking about the car there with the littering business there?
Right.
Yeah, well, litter is something that I hate, right? Because I've been calling it all over, and I tell people about it. I don't get like about it, because I'd say cleanliness is next to godliness. That means that the Cayman Islands is right alongside of hell. If that department has anything to say with it. Anyhow, I suggested that everybody got a smartphone. They could take a picture of it and just, get it. It can go to court. It's there, and the fine is $1,500. The person could get a $50. Well, some of the MLAs, they're from Elio time and Kenneth time, they say, oh, you put it and the person could get $500. They're not going to do that. That's just some way running off. What they done was run the train off the rail.
Mm-hmm.
I know if you're not doing nothing, you're sitting down, drinking a beer, and you see somebody, willfully take that beer can or thing and throw it down, you take a picture, you get $50 for that. I believe you put a dent in it. All right, no, that didn't go anywhere, so I come in from a different angle now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, see, if you get, because the police works for the insurance company, okay, now, if you get a fender bender, you notice what the first thing the police officer asks you for?
You want to see insurance and your license, yeah.
But insurance coming first.
Mm.
Good. And you can tell him, yeah, and he just get your license plate and he gets on bam, bam, bam. Because my truck got in a little accident a couple of years ago, and I wouldn't drive in it, but I know it was insured. When I got to the scene, the arm insured, say, yes, it's insured. And they checked it, say, yes, it's insured for anybody. 5 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
It took them all the 5 minutes. No. See, let's get back to reality. Now, because we got technology. Let's say a person called it to you. Okay, like the same gentleman done a couple of days ago. You could ask the police or the insurance company could say, tell me something. Run this license plate number and tell me who this is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Even if you don't get a conviction, you can come on and say, Elvis McKeever, we know it was you threw the garbage bag out your truck. You should be shaming yourself and we can be watching you. At least you got that much out of it.
Precisely, yeah. And that person will hopefully learn a lesson for the next time.
Right, but good now. But you see, how Cayman operate is this now, Now that got go through the Lords of London, Foreign and Commonwealth Office, referendum, all of that. That's why nothing gets done here. The simplest thing. Look at it can work because all you got to do is look here. The insurance companies, they donate $1,000 a year to charities, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And different events. Now we got it begging down to the heights for the poor people. Let's get the begging started to keep the island clean. At least, it's not about being poor, but being poor and living in dirt. That's a bad thing.
Bad combination, yeah. Plus, caller, they have the tips line for whenever person knows that a crime has been committed. They have a line for you to that you can call in and remain anonymous. They could possibly do the same thing for people who litter and things of that nature as well.
You derail why just that what wrong be gone to the coward outside.
Mm-hmm.
Connor, I seen you throw a bag out. What you gonna do? Yes, I seen you. So if you think, look at you, to me, when that gentleman called you, and I talked to a couple of people about it, because people talk to me when I call, and you know what they said? And I come to the conclusion. You didn't want to get too deep in it because you didn't want to come on and say, yeah, Orrett, you're the informer on that radio show, I know you're calling about my brother for throwing up when they take garbage. That is where we are, my friend. We are at that stage, and I hear people calling, but people going in the house and chopping them up, and nobody saying nothing. No, nobody saying nothing. Nothing. Nobody. The Caymanian is the biggest bunch of cowards in the world.
Okay, Elvis, I'm going to ask you to leave us there. We have to go to a commercial break, and we're almost ready to wrap up. I think we have a few more callers on hold. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore, Seaboard.
Rotaract Blue Cayman Islands Fred Spears Walk Run 2019. Early Sunday morning, March 24 at the Holiday Inn Resort, Crystal Harbor, West Bay Peninsula. Registration begins at 6 a.m. Walkers step out at 6:30 sharp. Runners leap ahead at 6:45 a.m. Your entry fee is only $25 CI. All proceeds go to the Fred Spears Vocational Grant. Visit caymanactive.com/Fred Spears. Rotaract Blue. Inspiration to the next generation.
Hello, I am Noel March, a small business owner in Georgetown for over 20 years. Small businesses depend on government to develop a quality infrastructure and environment that encourages entrepreneurs to create and grow local businesses, resulting in the creation of jobs and prosperity for Caymanians. Small businesses help drive our economy. Just as we have supported building the new airport, we must support the building of the new cargo and cruise port. It will give our tourism industry the opportunity to grow and Caymanian entrepreneurs the chance to shine. Support the port. Support our tourism.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're going to take this last call for the morning. I have a few things that I need to read as well, and a few observations and questions that have come in online also. Good morning, caller. Welcome back to For the Record.
Good morning. Good morning.
Go right ahead, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just want to let you know that our dear Mr. Robert Banks from West Bay, I know you know him quite well.
Yes.
He is very sick and has been in the Georgetown hospital, but I think according to what I've just learned, they transferred him to Health City.
Okay.
So I'm just asking prayers for him and his family.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good man.
Yes,
He's a good
very,
man.
very good, caring man.
Good family.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I wanted to say to you today, and I hope that we continue to pray for him and pray for each other.
Certainly. Thank you very much, caller, for that. And, we want to certainly wish Mr. Rupert Ebanks a speedy recovery, as well. One of our listeners has written and said, good morning. Thanks for sharing that information about depositing pre-bundled money into the bank. You shared that the predominant wrong currency found is Jamaican currency. I was wondering if you're at liberty to share the names of the banks like you did the name of the country. Thank you. And yes, I did. We did name several financial institutions, some even callers who had positive comments about some of the financial institutions in the Cayman Islands. So we did name them. So we weren't targeting just Jamaica in any way. This one says, morning, OC history sure has a way of repeating itself. Case in point, when Cayman Airways decided to replace reliable 727s with 737s, there were problems. With this new model, now they are again replacing proven aircraft with planes that have raised red flags. Strange cycle, isn't it? Maybe we should stick to what's proven until new things can be trusted. Okay, caller has a point, but when you look at Cayman Airways and our two planes that we received, and I believe one more to come, and you look at American Airlines, Air Dubai, Southwest, and all of those, Cayman Airways is as a little dot, a small drop in the bucket compared to the decisions that were made by those airlines, as well. So I just say that to say that, and the other thing is that we are where we're at with that. Not much that we can do, but the person does talk about history, and yes, certainly we remember when we had those 727s, and they were operating, at that time, operating well, and then we switched on to other aircrafts. But change has to come, especially in the aviation industry. Sometimes because of regulations, and sometimes for other reasons as well. Let's see if we have some more. It says, good morning. With regards to the UK passport for BOTC Caymanians, what impact will Brexit have on Caymanians that possess UK passports, or does it depend on the Brexit deal? my passport expires in 2027. Do I have until such time before I will require a Schengen visa, or will 2021 date apply to us again? I believe it will all depend on what deal is struck eventually with the European Union in that regard. But I believe whatever takes place, that there will be sufficient time for passport holders to readjust. It would appear as if the UK passport is likely to be replaced if the UK is no longer a part of the European Union, because I think part of that identity on the passport includes the European Union as well. But I think in most instances we still have to wait and see before we know precisely what will take place. And this one says, I commend the last caller. A lot of them doing it as well. I believe that may be in relation to the littering. And what else? Okay, I have here pointing out that someone else passed away, but I will not announce that until it is official. I don't want to do it here because I haven't heard any more about it as well. Have about 4 minutes. Let me quickly go through some other things that we found here. Actually, 2 minutes, I'm told, right? 3 minutes, 3 minutes. Jamaica. And what will happen there? Jamaica to introduce paperless immigration customs service in June. Come June, travelers to Jamaica will have the option to go paperless. So it looks like it's going to be optional, not necessarily mandated. To go paperless through immigration and customs at the airports in Kingston and Montego Bay. Under the initiative, travelers will be able to submit online immigration and customs forms ahead of their arrival via special internet portal. And it says, according to the Chief Executive Officer of the Passport and Immigration and Citizenship Agency, known as PICA, Mr. Andrew Winter, on arrival, the passengers will only be required to hand his or her passport to the immigration officer if you have filled it out online. Okay, we have an update on the situation with Mr. Rupert Ebanks, and we are now happy to inform you that Mr. Rupert is at home and resting. He is back at home and he is resting. And again, we wish for him a speedy recovery as well. Not much I can do in about a minute, Miss Susan, right? Okay, well, on Friday we expect to have the official opposition. I'm not sure. I have to check the schedule. It may possibly be the leader of the opposition, Honorable D. Ezard Miller, and I'm sure that there will be lots to talk about there. I had an article in the Trade Winds newspaper dated the 17th of March, 1966, and the Trade Winds newspaper at that date had published some photographs of the Cayman Islands, history of the Cayman Islands in 1915, and these were presented to them by Miss Estelle Watler of Crew Road, and there was someone else, Mrs. Donze and Estella Watler. I hope I pronounced that right because I couldn't see it that much. But what it showed in the newspaper was photographs of the old Prospect. Trying to find it very quickly. Okay, we had the sports school, the school and sports, and the children in front of the school, and then the old Prospect Church, and the laying of the cornerstone for the old Prospect Church. and the congregation there, and you have to see them all dressed in their Sunday best as well. And that article goes on to talk about after the 1932 storm that many people of the Prospect area then relocated to Georgetown, to Crew Road as well. Folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and by extension For the Record into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands into your places of work, whether it be an office cubicle or if you're working in the outdoors. I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station. Join Sterling, Dwayne Manx at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates. And Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.